Rival on the left side, and they're going to ban out the Terra. First pick, first ban for them.
They do it on purpose. They already know you're going to lean towards that direction, so they immediately just go for that one.
Well,
instead.
no, it's the whole like it's mirrored. So I'm just starting to get used to like being able to do this, but we'll get there slowly but surely. Arlong Shen, character that has recently just sort of jumped up the ranks as far as first pick, first ban status. Why do we see him picked and banned so often?
There's the factors of Sun Wukong receiving a recent nerf, and just for a long time, though, I think that this is just being a priority ban for Valence right now, because Deathwalker, for the longest time, has been praising Erlong Shen. Even at the DreamHack LAN, I remember him specifically stating Erlong is the best solo laner and the best warrior in the game right now. And it took a little bit of time, but he's quickly approached that mark, I'd say.
Well, so earlier on the desk, about the halfway point, I was sharing the desk with Ron, and Ron Robert said that he expected Rival to really pull something out of the woodwork, whether it be odd picks, odd strategies. Are you thinking something strange here for the pick ban status?
Whether or not they want to go with something a little bit different, it's hard to tell, considering that they always go for Fafnir whenever it's open. And sure enough, with that being locked in, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a double Hunter composition coming through. Anytime you can stack up gods who benefit off of that coerce from Fafnir, you're usually in a pretty good position.
Freya hasn't been picked in a while. You reckon we might see a Freya today?
It's a little bit riskier to try and roll with the Freya.
With the Bellona, I don't think so.
Yeah, with the Bellona, and then on top of that, losing Cobb is not really a matchup that a Freya wants to embark into.
Sure.
He's probably one of the best hunters for handling those 1v1 scenarios. The only thing you really have to keep in mind is other players on the field, but with Rom being locked away, I don't think that that'll be the case.
Yeah, not quite just yet. Rival have one more selection to go. They have their Hunter. They have their dual lane, pretty much. The Osiris, not sure if that'll be in the hands of Deathwalker or Ice, but I'm going to venture a guess and say we'll likely see Deathwalker with the Osiris. Bellona seems to go and usually have the upper hand in that matchup, though.
It depends on how the laning phase is played out. Osiris could be a little bit more annoying to deal with, considering he also has that cleave attack for clearing the minions, but he can also stand in the way of Bellona's initial damage if she's trying to opt for the bludgeon markup. But I love the Nemesis selection by Valence Squadron. It's going to be a strong choice for Fails. I think that Fails is also one of those players who really benefits off of those hard carry assassin gods.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. I also think that anytime you see an Osiris, it's reason to pick Nemesis. It just makes so much sense. Flat damage reduction on Osiris, flat % damage on Nemesis, hand in hand. Second round of bans coming out. No Odin, says Valence Squad.
Makes perfect sense. Don't want to have to deal with that, considering you already have 3 members who can't escape unless Bellona forces out her own ultimate. But you never want to be in that kind of position where you have to burn out an ult to escape from somebody else's. So good choice by Valence. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of mage bans coming through from either side, maybe a Thoth ban, considering that there isn't a next pick for Rival since they were first pick.
Well, the Raijin already banned out. Rival sending their second round ban out to Kronos. Valence Squad with last ban here. Like you said, we're missing a mid laner, and we're likely missing a jungler for Rival. So Valence Squad focusing on Odin, who's more of the jungle variety. So will Susano be. And Rival with the last ban, looking at what Valence Squad has picked.
It might be, okay, well, it's going to be a Thoth. I was going to say this could also potentially be a Soul, just to eliminate the possibility for it to be on Amazon Cab in the mid lane, but instead it's going to be Valence locking that Soul in. So I would still anticipate that it's going to be Soul in the mid lane role as opposed to the AMC, just because it's a little bit better clear early on. Fares a little bit better as well with the Nemesis on that level 5 ultimate combination.
I love the Kukulkan here. The Kukulkan is a character that you generally can't pick into against a composition that has a lot of crowd control, but if you get away with it, Kukulkan does fantastic things. Just raw damage, wave clear, early wave clear specifically, objective confirmed. The list goes on and on. It's just that he's highly susceptible to ganks. Well, look at the way, outside of the Sobek, nobody's really locking down that Kukulkan, and that Sobek is probably a response to the fact that Kukulkan's going to be able to do whatever the hell he wants.
That Kukulkan selection might have also been a little bit influenced by the Nemesis. That slow immunity on his second ability immediately pushing him into safety. It's actually a pretty significant buff that's always flown a little bit more under the radar, since this guy doesn't tend to fare very well in competitive matches, and that's just purely due to positioning, purely due to you need a team that can protect you. Rival are a sound enough squad to where Wolfie should be relatively safe on this Kukulkan.
And we're getting to that point where we're seeing, I mean, Amusing Cobb is top pick, top ban, is that fair?
Top pick, top ban, I wouldn't say.
I mean, he was picked top first here in this game. I think we're getting there.
Maybe in a competitive setting.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is that Graham Hinduman mentioned it earlier before how the professional scene is getting more and more distant to not the casual scene, but the play at home scene, even the high end ranked world. And when you look at characters at the high end competitive level, characters like Amusing Cobb are unplayable because of how scary they are. Kalos actually going to take advantage of this. Early beats used, votes here as well. Fun ball relatively low. Kalos can't make the kill. And that's point in the proof in the pudding is that these characters used to be unplayable because you couldn't protect them. Now we totally can.
Here's the other problem is that Rival have already seen this one before. I believe that this same starting strategy for Funballer in the mid lane actually already happened. Either it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. We've had a lot of SPL this week, but for sure Rival can recognize a starting maneuver for a team and look to counteract it.
Yeah, and so they walk away no problem. But characters like Kukulkan, the Amusing Cobb, these characters used to be so dangerous that you couldn't play them because you were clearly going to die here. Now, whether it be players just getting better, the advancement of the meta, or new characters coming out with better defensive prowess, we're seeing these dangerous selections more and more often.
And it's just part of the fact where you need to risk it for the biscuit a little bit. Every now and then it's okay to do. And I don't think it's as risky right now as it used to be, considering how important objective control has seemingly become. Yeah,
and when it comes, Wolfie, important Aegis. Stellar Burst would have claimed the life of the Dragon Man, but instead he's able to walk away. Still level 3. A little bit of help on those back harpies. But yeah, we've seen Kukulkan in the SPL a little bit recently, looking towards the summer split, and even before that. And he's performed admirably, honestly. I've always really liked this character.
That reason right there, that clear and the insane fastness of it is the main reason why this has potential to work. It's just, there's so much safety net. And granted, he's already had to use his Aegis. He got a little bit too far up, but mages that can rush the Book of the Thoth, the Book of Thougstar are just so priority right now.
Right, and the reason being is because you just get this giant, boost. Even the starting stats on the Book of Thoth are pretty decent. You know, even enough to like write home about. But as you said, it's only the mages that can go this Book of Thoth rush. Not every character can afford to do so.
Not every character. That's why we've been seeing the Raijins, the Vulcans, even a couple of the Kukulkans. It just all depends on what players feel comfortable with. As Vogue getting a little uncomfortable from that pluck on big man Tings, but he'll be just fine. He still has his rollout. Excellent patience to wait until the tail whip had already happened.
And some of the reasons, you know, the differences between the mages, you see Vulcan gets played a decent amount because he can afford to go the Book of Thoth rush. You don't have any sustain when you rush this item. You're not able to pick up many potions, and because of that, that's what sort of deters some of the other characters away. A character like Kukulkan, especially when paired up with the Thor, has the wave clear, doesn't have to use all of the mana all of the time, and that allows him to get up to the proper amount of gold. I think it's 1350 that you need to finish up that Book of Thoth and then build into boots. What you want to do as the enemy team, you want to push the mid laner back to base early, so they have to make that decision. Do I buy like boots 1 or 2 because I can't finish the Book of Thoth? And that's when things become a little bit rough.
For the Kukulkan as well, he's also just trying to rely entirely off of that Thor setup, or even the Hammerstones off of Kalos. As the invade is happening right now from Valence, they're trying to get away. Fail's kind of stuck in an awkward position, but doesn't seem as though Rival want to contest.
Yeah, Valence would have been fine there, just sort of waiting up for the cooldown on his dash, I think, whereas the rest of Valence squad, I love how they respond to this. They see 2 players in trouble on the blue buff side and think, okay, we'll invade the speed. And that does it forces Rival to make the impossible decision. Do they go and defend the speed buff, or they go for the kill? And right here, obviously, Valence squad sends them for a loop, and they do neither.
I don't think the rival were anticipating that kind of invade from Valence. That's not a very common invade, considering how much clear potential there is between a Thor and an Osiris. So for Deathwalker and Ice Ice Baby to feel that uncomfortable in their own jungle just goes to show that they're trying to buy as much time as possible, not look for any early fights, wait for Wolfie to come online with that Book of Thoth, get a little bit of mobility even, start into his boots before they really start breaking out with the team fights.
Yeah, and you can see Wolfie going to go ahead and back here now. Likely has enough for the book. We'll see if he goes. Yep, there it is, nice and finished. Even enough to buy some booties as well. So, Team Rival, they've got what they want in that mid lane. Got to push forward a little bit more so. Fun ball nice and early. I think we should, expect the beads at a fun ball. That's about it. Nice ultimate coming out from Ice Ice. No further commit, which is curious, because that wall really shuts him down.
It depends. They might not have had vision on anybody else from Melons at the time. Not certain if with how calmly Funballer beats that one, whether or not.
I don't buy that because Ice Ice is in the sky. He sees everybody. I would have liked a little bit more aggression. I don't know. You ult somebody and just walk away. Okay.
You'd be surprised how quickly you can close the gap between your mid lane and that jungle avenue. And it also depends on whether or not Funballer had his Hive on cooldown to place it and just start zooming out of there.
Definitely worth talking about that Hive. A lot of movement speed on that Hive. A lot of attack speed on that Hive. A lot of one of the more interesting buffs in the game. Ducky half HP, aggressively moving against Deathwalker. Love to see that.
It's a good decision, considering that Deathwalker still had 3 archers to deal with, and if he doesn't clear out those archers, they're probably going to deal more damage to Deathwalker than what Ducky would have been able to accomplish.
Yeah, those minions nice and early, doing a ton of damage. Ninja Tabby for the Bologna. A little bit interesting, aggressive move here. No,
it's a very aggressive position for Ducky to be in, but whether or not it's going to pay off is only time will tell. Deathwalker, though, forced to back off, recognizing that something was up, having already expended his ultimate to dive onto Ducky.
And Ducky didn't use his, so that's going to be a little bit of a win for the guys on Valence. Whether or not they can actually take advantage of it, different story. Likely no, in all honesty. The way Team Rival has been operating, you're right, they're uncomfortable in their own jungle, but we haven't seen them really fall down just yet. I like Wolfie's positioning here. He's being very careful, but one ultimate and tornado combo takes a couple of players out. He's stuck under the tower, though. Wolfie shies away from the action on the right side of the map. Kalis leaps away from the damage out of the mid lane Mage. Ice Ice Baby to the sky. Group up around there. Ooh, wait for the Thor! The ultimate off the mark from Wolfie, and now Ice Ice Baby comes out of the sky for no reason. Kalis low, but a beautiful wall will separate the team from the rest of his teammates. Everyone gets out scot-free. Wolfie let it fly. I like the idea, but when you have the Thor in the air waiting, just wait one extra second.
He wanted to use his ultimate to try and steal away the speed buff, but it was just a little bit too late on both aspects of trying to that, because it missed hitting anybody since he held it waiting for that speed buff secure, and then, you know, of course, they already had it locked down, so that just, it's unfortunate, but it's nothing that's going to put Rivals super far behind just yet. But the issue is if this keeps reoccurring, where they're not lining up and syncing off of each other's ultimates. Wolfie really, unless he's 100% guaranteed to hit at least 1 or 2 squishies, he should probably hold that one.
So I saw what he saw. There was the group up. You were going to hit like 3 different players. I saw what Wolfie saw. And if Thor wasn't already in the air, Taco, I would have been fine with that. But the fact that Ice Ice is ready to go, that's when you just wait the extra second. That, like I said, that's the ultimate that you let it fly in. Any other, he was already in the sky. And he just needed to land.
Even Ice Ice's ultimate, the Thor ultimate, it was a little bit off the mark. I think he was anticipating Valence to try and back off through that little funnel next to the speed buff, but instead, both of those just slightly missing. And that's, granted, that's also part of the reason why we don't see a whole lot of Kukulkan, because every single team fight just relies so heavily around whether or not that Spirit of the Nine Winds is going to connect.
Sure, but I mean, I feel like you can say the same about Ra.
Not to the same extent, because Ra still has his first ability is still so much damage.
Yeah.
And his ultimate is on a significantly lower cooldown.
Well, when it comes, the Kukulkan, a little bit rough. For what it's worth, I will say, that I think that is going to be the rare miss from Wolfie. I expect a better performance from this Kukulkan as the game goes on. Only about 9-10 minutes in, just barely, and scoreless here in our first 10 of Team Rival versus Valiant Squad. This is the one that a lot of people are tuning in for. Valiant Squad and Team Rival lower on the standings than a lot of people think and feel that they should. But the conversation around Team Rival is generally, yeah, they're Lanimals. They're going to come out and play crazy stuff and do it. But on the online stage, not as strong.
From a competitive standpoint, the primary mindset for every team should be to not let Rival go to LAN, because if they go to LAN, they will probably beat you. That's just the way that things have been for Rival, at least in the past year. Speaking of which, Deathwalker looking to go in, fails, already expending the Nemesis Shield, having to burn out his own ultimate, trying to get away from Deathwalker, but it takes the sprint from Ducky to get his jungler to safety. Yeah,
Fail is down to about 5%, 10% HP. I like that ultimate from Ice Ice Baby. I think that's one of those ults that will get made fun of in Twitch chat. But he's using it for information and then safety.
He might have been able to find it. I believe his ult had just come back up, and he wasn't certain of whether or not he could catch in time, and unfortunately enough, he just wasn't able to find Fails in time. That sprint is really the savior there. Otherwise, the tether from Deathwalker catches, and it could have potentially been even 2 for 0, because Ducky might have also fallen as well without that sprint.
Look at how smart Deathwalker is right there. He's battling against Ducky. He knows he needs the extra damage. Also realizes he's probably not going to kill him in this exchange. So he does maximum damage with the basic attacks, and then interrupts the basic attack chain with the sickle, right? So it's 1-2 right, cleave. He interrupts his basic attack chain, and then when he is forced to cleave, he turns around and looks towards the minions, so he gets the full heal from that Death Toll proc in the middle of fighting the other guy. I like those small things a lot. Really impressive stuff coming out from Deathwalker.
The small mechanics where it's like little notes that you're not sure whether or not a pro player takes heed of them, and it's just small tips like that that even I think a general viewer could really learn from.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a take home to your own game. Those are the things that separate, you know, the great players, Deathwalker, from the rest of the crop. That little bit of extra healing that he gets from the 3 proc of the Death Toll against those minions, plus the less damage that he's taking, versus if he had hit Ducky with the cleave basic. I mean, those small moves are what give you the small advantage, and I mean, totally brings it up all the time, especially in the solo lane. It's all about inches. It's about the small victories you're able to gain, and that really winds up amassing into more stuff.
Even a single missed basic attack in the solo lane can sometimes determine the outcome of those 1v1 slapbox fights, so it's always important to keep that in mind. Speaking of which, Rival again looking for the aggressive, huge chunk out onto Fails from Wolfie on that burst ability.
Yeah, Zephyr is no joke here. No joke at all. With those pen boots online, Wolfie going to start to be looking to do some damage. Kukulkan does a ridiculous amount of damage. I think people underestimate or forget, but he definitely, you get stuck in a tornado and you get hit by Zephyr mid to late game, and you're hurting. I mean, you'll have to Aegis a tornado late game if you get caught.
I gotta say, and I hope that this doesn't cast as curse, I do agree from what we were talking earlier on from that Spirit of the Nine Winds that Wolfie initially launched off in this game. That is probably going to be one of the rare misses.
Yeah.
Wolfie is a mid laner that loves holding himself to a much higher standard, and his gameplay reflects it.
And like I said, trouble for Kalas over the wall. Good. That ultimate, I saw exactly what he saw. I know why he fired it, and that's one of those that you fire. He had the setup right there. I wanted to wait for it. But I think going forward, I think he's going to wind up hitting people when he takes those shots. Strangely quiet here. Not just for these two teams, but for this meta. We've seen a lot of early action right now. Hopefully I cast her to curse this one. We're going to see. Nope. Tornado says no. Why is this so low action here between these two squads?
Because Rival have the better team fight within the jungle as long as Wolfie has proper placement of his tornadoes. We've been seeing it time and time again.
Just like that.
Exactly. Valence want to move in, but they know that they can't. It just takes one Hammerstone from Kalas, and it's just like an onslaught of non-stop abilities that hurt and slow you.
Yeah, I love that tornado placement from Wolfie. And virtually any other character there we likely see Valen Squad chase into Rivals jungle and get, a kill or at least go for the team fight. That tornado right there by the entrance to mid lane prevented everything. Big man Tank's caught. Gonna dodge a little bit of everything. He'll walk away no problem.
That was a great Thor wall. It's just nobody really quite ready to have the follow-up damage just yet.
Shoutouts to Vote getting both of those.
Exactly. Vote was just waiting time. That's really all he's aiming to do, is just waiting it out.
He's on this ROM. He has the, AMC, a little bit newer to our world. He seems to be good at all stages of the game. We know ROM is a late game hunter. A fun ball on this AMC. Do the hives really make him that dirty late game?
Hives are disgusting to deal with late game. Even in the mid game, hives are such a nuisance because there's just so many of them everywhere, and you can't possibly, a good AMC player at least, will not put them in places that you would typically expect. You want to place them inside of your own buffs. There's so much AoE on the range of those hives. It makes it incredibly effective, and you can have an entire trail throughout one whole side of the map.
Yeah, your hive network, very important in playing AMC. And at this point, level 15, level 16, probably 50% attack speed with those hives up if it's level 5.
That was a quick burnout of the Gulf Fury. It was dropped to 50% health, and they immediately, Valence did not want to pursue it or commit as soon as they recognized that Wolfie was rotating, and that's just the fear that you have to have against a Kukulkan.
Not just against a Kukulkan, but also when you select a soul for yourself. Supernova does a lot of damage and usually a surprising amount, but it is not the Kukulkan, the Ra, the Vulcan ult. It is not that same level of objective secure that you get with other mages. So when you go the soul, when you go the Chronos, when you go some of these characters that don't have the traditional, burst Kraken damage, if you will, you're giving up that objective secure, and you got to be wary about that. Valen Squad do have the ability to burn it down, but they don't have the ability to really finish it. Deathwalker finally getting in trouble for being so damn aggressive all game.
But it won't be for much longer. Fails doesn't want to keep that one going. Ducky actually, I believe, missed the bludgeon there. So without that chunk of health onto Deathwalker, don't think that Fails felt comfortable pursuing that one.
Yeah, Deathwalker has been on the front of the tower for the entire game, and nobody has sent. Fails has not gone over there at all, and that is a character that can actually gank the solo lane, Nemesis. Why don't we see Phelan more active on the Fire Giant side of the map?
Because he has to keep in mind that Ice Ice Baby can have just as much of an impression from a distance, considering that he has that semi-global Thor ultimate. As soon as he goes up into the air, Ice Ice can see not only Fails and Ducky, but the entirety of who might potentially be rotating, where the responses are going to be coming from. Speaking of which, though, they want to engage onto Wolfie now, already using out that slow immunity, but it might not be enough to get away from Lobster, and it isn't.
I like the plan of Collis just getting in the way so that he would be flipped instead. Wolfie almost wiggled out of there, but gets hit by the tail end of Lobster's ultimate. Again, shout out to Collis for the body block and the pluck. Real instinctual play there. Still, his mid lane carry does go down. Collis now getting in some trouble, jumping away. Valen Squad on the chase, and the flank from Fellows is going to force out the sprint out of the guys on Team Rival. 4 players alive in blue, Taco, and Valen Squad starting up the Gold Fury again. Already down 25-10, 5, it's gone, VAC, burning it down.
That was just destroyed, and that's the prospect that an AMC and a Soul can provide to a team. They might not have as much, they don't have that coerce to boost them, but it's still just as much damage.
Yeah, I mean, and as soon as Wolfie's out of the picture, Valen Squad know exactly what to do. Nobody is going to contest or compete with that, right? I mean, especially with the Thor down. Lobster in some trouble. Well, he gets help from teammates. Beads and a sprint. Nice flip. Collis could be toast. No, Slow's going to miss.
Nothing else to really follow up, understanding that Collis still had his dragon form available with that ultimate. He hasn't used it yet. But for Ice Ice to lose his purification beads, that's the real victory for Valen Squad in there, because now Fails has a lot of targets to choose from. He could potentially go onto Wolfie again. Although Wolfie does have both of his actives, he's just been suffering the most because he's Kukulkan, and he wasn't even out of position, I would say, on that death that he just suffered. It was really just him slightly in front of his tower line that vision just being so in favor for Valence and having they just happen to have 3 members there.
Yeah, just, smokes him out. Becomes first blood. The only kill so far in nearly 20 minutes of play. One of the longer games, and as I said, the current style of play, both Europe and North America, a little bit more active. Valence Squad and Team Rival playing very carefully here. Both teams really playing for a lot of points. Portal Demon still being aggressed on. Wolfie going to go ahead, confirm it. Easy peasy for Team Rival, but now Valence Squad wants to fight into this. This is where they have to return to fight. There's a big frenzy, and it's going to help Ice Baby find the ground. Fails and Funball combined for 2 kills on the side of Valence Squadron. They don't need the Portal Demon at this point. They just need the kills. 2 players down, Ice and Vote respectively. That's going to open up the jungle for Valence Squad. Speed buff stolen by Valence.
It's not just the jungle, it's also the T1 tower mid going to be claimed by Valence shortly after. And that's one of the risks as well involved with Kukulkan Ultimate. As soon as he drops that Spirit of the 9 Winds to secure the objective, the team fight, it's just, again, usually going to be one-sided.
At the same, yeah, there are a couple of things that I think we could have seen Team Rival do. You leave the tornado, try to zone, and instead we saw Team Rival kind of split up. Not a great look. But Valence Squad fantastically taking advantage. 3 kills, about 3,000 gold, a hair less. And 21 minutes on the clock here. Valence Squadron looking like, I'd say, the sharper team as far as coordination is concerned. But I absolutely think the Team Rival has something up their sleeve.
I think one of the main reasons why this game is going at such a slow pacing is because these 2 teams are actually very evenly matched.
I agree.
If you look at it player-wise, just rosters alone, ignore the drafts, these teams are probably very similar as far as skill level is concerned.
I completely agree. I think if you look down the line, I'd probably give a little bit of credence to Lobster over Wolfie, but I also probably show a little bit more love to Deathwalker over Ducky. And we're talking slight, and everybody else is even, in my opinion. I think these guys are really, really even.
And that's one of the things, but Team Rival looking to get ahead now as Ice Baby is up in the air. Not sure that Thor Ultimate's going to be in range. She should be coming up short of the tower line. And sure enough, looking to cut off Funballer and Lobster instead.
Yeah, that's, again, a very interesting Thor ult that I think is not what you get on the surface. I think Ice Baby, from outside looking in, I think you're like, all right, yeah, just land on the dudes and kill them. But instead, that's what the other teammates in the lane, that was their job. Tier 1 tower relatively low. Just shove them out a little bit and see what happens. Ice is there to make sure things don't get ugly. Right now, Deathwalker, not exactly in a pretty spot himself. His Tier 1 tower is going to fall down, but the rest of the Rival going to respond. Big Man Ting's in a bad situation. Surrounded, forced into the Sobek ultimate, and that'll be the retreat. Still, no team fight, no kills.
It's just a tower-for-tower trade-off. Valence didn't like that Rival grouped up and stole their T1 in the solo lane, so they immediately responded. Except Rival wanted to play that a little bit more aggressively, and I feel as though that's the main reason we saw Deathwalker kind of lurking around and looking to trail behind, sort of putting Valence in a really awful position.
I feel like somebody on Team Rival is just saying, calm down, calm down, calm down, over and over again. Rival keep making these plays that seem like they want to be more aggressive, and then they just don't hard commit. Is there such thing as too safe?
Just waiting for their moment. I think that's really all that it comes down to is Rival want a team fight where they're going to wipe everybody. They're not looking for a pick or two. They want to just dominate the fight, ideally land that Kukulkan ultimate onto 3-4 members and find the pickups afterwards with Vote, but it's really hard for them to get anything going, especially since Valence have a little bit more favor as far as the early to mid game is concerned. And
with that in mind, I don't like the Urchin pickup. Oh, the bad beads leads to a bad beat for Ice Baby. Worst ultimate coming out from Wolfie, not going to find anyone. So unfortunate, but support takes down support. Collis off of Big Man Tings, then jumps to the back line, trying to save his carries. Deathwalker will exit stage right. And Fala's going to zone out Vote on the left-hand side. Collis still being chased out by Ducky. It's a 1-for-1 so far, Taco, as the Warrior gets stuck in the tornado. But I think Valence Squadron here, I think they have the upper hand with the Gold Fury in their crosshairs, and down it goes.
Just not enough range. Ooh, Callus.
Unnecessary.
Gonna cost him his life trying to get past Ducky. And, of course, the objective headed into Valen Squadron's hands. It's just... It's pretty rough stuff right now for Rival against Valen Squad.
All right. I don't like the Urchin on Wolfie because this is a character that needs to deal with the talk to me about the penetration option coming out from the dot-based Kukulkan.
Hoo boy. Where to begin? Okay, so Urchin has been seeing so much playthrough lately and being picked up very favorably by teams, but a lot of the time I really do feel as though players kind of forget you need the stacks if you want the full effects. And 25 minutes in, it's not that dangerous just yet, but the way that Valence is not permitting any sort of team fighting potential from Rival, it just begins to question whether or not you really need the defense. And he's been targeted out pretty heavily by Fail, so that could also be mildly understandable. But in place, you could potentially look for the Wing Blade, so that way you get a little bit of a mobility boost off of it. It's just Urchin doesn't seem to have any benefit when your team is behind. And
yeah, I agree. It's a win more item. It's a curious choice against if you're getting chased down by a nemesis. Protections are going to be an interesting thought process. And then even looking towards the penetration option. I get it. The idea is Obsidian Shard. If you're going to hit somebody with the ultimate at the beginning of the team fight, the likelihood of hitting people with the tornadoes relatively low. I don't know. Curious itemization coming out from Wolfie. We'll see if it affects the rest of the game here so far. Already down 6,000 gold. Fire Giant down to about half HP. Deathwalker trying to shove himself in the middle of the room. He's going to walk up, take about 25% of his life bar. There's a transformation coming out from Collis as everybody from Valen Squad gets aggressive. Ice Ice Baby in the sky. Ducky stun, double stun, but it's Lobster with the two-man kill. Deathwalker goes down, as does Ice Ice Baby. Finally, we see an ultimate hit by Wolfie, and it has a huge impact, but it might be too little too late as Funball notches number 8 for Valen Squadron.
It's not that it was too little too late, it's just that Ice Ice Baby was deleted the moment he landed. Lobster's ultimate just wiped him off the face of the earth, and he was just gone. It was a great ultimate, finally connecting, but with 4 members dead now from Rival, that just means free Fire Giant to Valence. There's no way that Callus gets back into contesting time. Lobster even ensuring that the Fafnir can't get anywhere close to that Fire Giant pit. And even still, Vo in Ice Ice Baby's health bar was just immediately diminished.
Yeah.
There was no hope of following up after Wolfie's ultimate.
There was nothing else to do, and that was all credit to Lobster. That was Lobster being patient and waiting for Ice Ice to come down from the sky. He knew exactly what he needed to do, hung back, and took care of business. That is why he's so successful. That's why he's been successful for so damn long. 4-0-2. He's been a part of 6 of the 9 kills as the mid lane soul, leading the game in the kill category as well. Rada Tahuti just finished for him now. He's going to be even more scary for Team Rival to deal with. This is going to be a rough next team fight for Team Rival if they let Lobster free cast.
And I gotta say, Funballer, 5 stacks on Urchin. Big Man Ting, 7 stacks on Urchin. Ducky, 8 stacks on Urchin. Wolfie, 2.
Yeah.
And 1 that's in process by Deathwalker right now. I really do feel as though it's hurting. Speaking of which, Deathwalker's receiving the hurting right now from Ducky, getting ulted on, ends the chase into the T2 tower. Fire Giant team ready to go deep.
The mischarged prey on Deathwalker. He's thanking his lucky stars for that one. Big Man Tings wasn't as accurate as he's been all day. But the Tier 1 tower does go down. And Valen Squad can just stick around here looking for the Tier 2.
There's just... it's going to be a really difficult one for Rival to try and hold off at the T2 tower. Kukulkan, probably one of the best mages for trying to do tower defense, but with how far behind Rival is, it's really just their damage output that's suffering.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I mean, Ryan was talking about it, Agro was talking about it on the desk yesterday, and we're seeing this. For a long time, it was understood that you don't buy an Urchin late. And now, I guess because the meta has become more team fight oriented, that people are saying, okay, maybe I can still get away with this. We're seeing it time and time again that doesn't work.
It only benefits the team that's already ahead because it's a win more item. Speaking of which, Deathwalker trying to tether out everybody from Valence right now. 1v4 zoning. Spirit of the Night Wind's gonna connect, but onto Ducky alone. And now everybody from Rivals on the retreat. Vote MBK still able to find Big Man Tings in it all.
And the team fight's not dead. Vote to the sky, just barely missing Ducky there, not able to really confirm the finish. 5-on-4, Team Rival with the advantage here. Cut down about half HP on, well, everybody. They're going to back up. Valence Squad are going to be able to pick up this Gold Fury. Not a good time to back, guys. Team Rival giving this one up for free.
They can't contest it. They expended practically everything trying to defend their T2 tower. So it's not as much of a win either for Valence. I'm sure they would much rather have that T2 tower. But going back to what we were saying about this Hide of the Urchin and it being built so late and why it doesn't work as well for these teams that are barely even or behind, it's because when your team is able to group and continue team fighting, then you get the benefit. You get the stacks. They start adding on to your protections. It's awesome. When you don't have those stacks, then you get an item that's just 250 health, which is 1 auto attack. There's a Nemesis on the enemy team, so it's probably less than that.
Not exactly the most efficient itemization, for sure. But Team Rival now have to fight into this somehow. Down a Fire Giant about 10,000. Well, the Fire Giant's going to fall off in about 15 seconds, so no harm, no foul. But Ducky gets a little bit poked out. He does have the Thorns. The Thorn's pretty scary.
Thorns is mostly a concern because if Ducky keeps eating those Spirit of the Nine Winds ultimate, then Wolfie has to be really careful about how much of that is being reflected back to him. Portal Demon being aggressed on now by Valence's Rivals, trying to just wait for their moment to engage, but it might not wait much longer considering how low that Portal Demon's already gotten.
Yeah, there's the leash out from Valence Squad. So they're able to just sort of return to sender. Right now, 31:27 on the clock here. We're going to start a team fight. Deathwalker served up. Fire Giant about to respawn. Very important team fight here, folks. And that's why we're seeing the players play so safe. Because whoever takes 1 or 2 kills gets the Fire Giant. And then Team Rival is able to all but tie the game with a couple of tower kills. So definitely something Valence Squad wants to prevent.
Rival semi-winning out the poke war right now, or at least it's Big Man Tings who's feeling it the most. Lost about 30% of his health. He'll be able to get it back off of that Sickening Strike, depending on how aggressive Valence choose to play after the fact. But it does seem, even with Fire Giant having respawn, Valence don't want to risk this objective as long as Wolfie is hanging around.
Wolfie does have the ultimate. His Portal Demon already very low. Deathwalker, his HP's covering it, but I mean, that's going to be that. Nice little confirm by Team Rival. Wolfie's ultimate without any CDR. I mean, that's we do have to wait for Team Rival to really have that before we see a dedicated attempt at the Fire Giant, I'd say.
But Valence are probably more than aware of that ultimate having been used, so they're probably going to be waiting around that Portal Demon, seeing if anybody's going to teleport through. With 5 members of Valence still grouped up on that right-hand side, I'm almost expecting them to either look for the jump in the jungle or maybe even pressure out that T2, but the wave is just so far pushed up on the solo lane side, there's really not much point in them trying to actively tank a T2 tower.
Vote. Does he know that everybody's here just sort of waiting? Looks like the answer is yes. Funball gonna start with the Fire Giant, and he'll be able to bring it down, and not that low, just to about 90% before he leashes it out. Cool Khan, Zone Tornado, can't walk here. Lobster cut off from the team, look at that damage to the sky. Oh, not going to find anything. Another player to the sky. Thor, can he reach? No, instead misses. Wanted to land on Ducky, but doesn't find anything. And those ultimates down, Taco, that's a really big win for Valence.
I believe Ducky actually used his sprint there to make sure that Lobster got away to safety as soon as Vote went up into the sky. Not a whole lot of option left for a Rival to, as far as targets to go on. It was a great damage burst from Ice and Wolfie. I believe a Zephyr might have also connected with Lobster right before he went into the Disapparate form.
Yeah, and we just a little bit more damage would have killed the character. Imagine if that Hide of the Urchin was something else.
Oh, you mean like damage?
Yeah.
Probably. but sometimes it happens, and either way, Rival are trying to make the best out of what they've got for now. So they still have a chance. Very easily could come back into this. It's all just banking off of how the next team fight breaks out whenever either side decides to finally commit to it. Right now, we've been seeing a lot of pussyfooting around where Valence doesn't want to go all the way, but they're ready to go in now as Ducky is engaging. That means Sprint is a pop, and Big Man Ting's looking for the pluck onto Wolfie.
Wolfie served up, finds the ultimate onto the tanky character. Still alive thanks to a nice shell, and Fail is forced out of the left-hand side. Wolfie again still alive, but fails. Cut him down! Wolfie becomes number 10 for Valence Squadron. Kala's gonna go ahead and turn into the Dragon and likely just fall. A couple of basics. Fun Baller and Lobster. Confirm 2 more kills. Kala's, Ice Ice, Wolfie down for the count. It's Deathwalker and Vote versus the World. Both players opt to go back to base. And at 35 minutes and 11 seconds, Valence Squadron confirm the Fire Giant 12-3. The gold lead at 10K plus.
Vote's doing everything that he can right now to try and put a dent into the tankiness of Valence. With those Urchins all being practically stacked, they are very tanky right now and incredibly difficult to deal with. Funballer dealing massive amounts of damage, as well as Lobster. And when it's an Almuzin Cobb on your Phoenix alongside of a Soul, it's not going to last for much longer.
You give this one up, boys. Here it is. DW just sort of showing face. I think that's the right move, but yeah. All your structures, all of your base, just all of it are belong to us.
I mean, the map is pretty much entirely Valence's right now. There's just no way for Rival to venture into their own jungle, having to constantly worry about where Fails is at. And it's this combination of the Nemesis ult alongside of the Soul ultimate and how much AoE is actually being brought to the fights by Valence. You would typically expect it to be in favor of Rival inside of these jungle avenues because of how tight a lot of the corridors can be, but Wolfie and Kalas have just been having a really difficult time staying alive due to just how much burst potential is really coming from Valence.
You know, it's interesting. As we this is Golden Hand. Can we see player damage real quick? I'm curious as to where Thor is at. Not very high. Okay. My thought process here was you see Thor building super carry. He's going for transcendence in the last item. I thought this is Ice Ice Baby kind of saying, like, look, nobody else is doing the damage. I got to do the damage. I'm going to play some hero ball. I don't know what the thought process is here is. I mean, he's obviously looking for more damage, confirmed. But why is he looking for more damage is the question.
It might have been an accidental misclick.
Looking for Hydras?
Intending to go towards the Hydras direction, considering Hydras is also significantly cheaper. Yep. But Hydras wouldn't have as much benefit in these later stages either.
I mean, I like the idea of the raw power. It's just very, you know, it's odd that we see this selection. Usually Thor's opt for more cooldown reduction or even tankiness. Valence Squad, yeesh. 20,000 gold in the lead. This is the scary kind of lead.
It's been a relatively quiet game all around, but I would certainly favor it to have been in Valence's favor, at least for 90% of it. The first little bit was a little bit even, and Rival, I think, were actually doing solid at surrendering buffs and accepting their flaws early on with their composition. It's just as the game continued to progress, they couldn't really break or have an impact against Valence.
Well, Valence Squad looking for the last Phoenix of the game here. Tornado goes down just defensively. Valence Squad not going to walk into that one. Served up is Deathwalker. Able to jump away, but jumped right on top is Kalas. There's a Wolfie ult. Knocks one. It's just Ducky. And so Fails cutting down Deathwalker. There's the Frenzy, but a little bit too late. To the sky goes the Hunter. Misses the shot, but Wolfie able to just get the dot down. And it winds up doing the finishing up the dirty work. 1 and 1 are dead, so it's a 4 and 4 fight.
Everybody just out of reach right now for Valence as Kalas finally goes up into that Dragon form, trying to stop Valence from locking down this Titan room area, but Funballer on the backside completely chunking away at his health.
I love the position that Team Rival are in right now. They might actually be able to get the stop unless Valence Squad sneak right in and go ahead and provide the damage. It looked